Hi. Today we will talk about the vapor pressure of the solutions. Okay. See, before I am going further into that, let me say what is vapor pressure. See, the vapor pressure is, as the name implies, what is vapor actually? See, if if you are taking a solution, let it be water or anything. Okay. So think that okay, you closed it. So it definitely it has to undergo the vaporization and the vapor. Okay, so the vapor, this is, let it be liquid. Okay, so the vapor it will occupy somewhere here, right? So vapor is nothing but it is the gaseous phase. The vapor it is going to hit on the surface of this lid. Okay, and it goes on exerting some pressure, same way like it is nothing but the gaseous pressure, right? Okay, so the pressure exerted by the vapor is called vapor pressure. Okay, and it is going to be the vapor pressure, it varies for different liquids, nature of the liquid, temperature. There are different parameters influences the vapor pressure. For instance, suppose, so here you are taking water. Of course you closed this lid. Here you are taking ethanol. Which one will exert more vapor pressure? Both will be vaporizing. Okay, so here it will occupy the vapor will be forming. Here also it is going to vaporize. Okay, obviously here it will occupy the vapor. Okay, so the both the vapor, water as well as ethanol, okay, it exerts some forces, some pressure, okay, on the surface of this liquid. More the vapor, more amount of gases are forming, more will be the pressure it is exerting. See here ethanol it easily undergo evaporization, right? Like if you pour some amount of ethanol on the floor, after some time if you come and see, maybe around 1 hour or 2 hours, okay, you cannot see even a trace of ethanol on the floor because it immediately evaporizes even in the room temperature. Okay, but on the other hand water, it is not like that. Water won't evaporize easily. So the more amount of vapor, that means more pressure it will be exerting. Okay, so the vapor pressure of ethanol, it is going to be higher than water. Okay, so this is the case. So now we will go into the vapor pressure of some of the solutions. See, for instance the vapor pressure of liquid solutions. Okay, by the way, we are talking about the vapor pressure of liquid solutions. See, there are two variations we will see. One is liquid solid solutions, and the next one is liquid solutions. See here like liquid solutions. See, consider if you take water and you have added some amount of ethanol. That means this mixture, it consists of water as well as ethanol, right? Okay, so both the water also will evaporizes, ethanol also is going to evaporize, right? Okay, so that means here some amount of water molecules will be there. Okay, and water, it will be in the form of gaseous state, and as well as the ethanol molecules. Ethanol also it is going to evaporize. Okay, so it also will be there on the space, provided you close this lid. Okay, so like that means here the vapor pressure, that means the pressure exerted by the both vapor, water vapor as well as ethanol vapor, it is both will be exerting pressure, right? So the total pressure, it is going to be equal to pressure exerted by water plus pressure exerted by ethanol. Okay, so this is the case. This is according to the Dalton's law of partial pressure. As per the Dalton's law of partial pressure, if more than two gases are there or in a particular system, the pressure exerted by the pressure which is in the whole of the system is equal to the pressure exerted by the individual gases. See, I will tell you in another way. Suppose you can see. So I'm sorry. Okay, here two gases are there. Okay, let it be helium and let it be oxygen. Okay, two gases are there. So both will be exerting pressure, right? Okay, both molecules, it will be hitting on the surface of this wall. Both will be hitting on the surface of wall, right? So the total pressure is equal to the pressure exerted by helium plus pressure exerted by oxygen. Or else if there is one more component, then obviously it is plus pressure exerted by that particular component also in this whole of the system. Okay, so these individual pressures we call it as partial pressure. Partial means you have to take in the meaning of part of, like suppose there are 10 students are there. Okay, like 3 girls are there in the class means 3 girls are part of the whole of the class, right? Okay, so same way this is what the Dalton's law is saying. If the more than how many number of gases are present in a system, the total pressure exerted by that system is equal to by the gases is equal to pressure exerted by individual gases. For instance, as per this example, it is a helium and oxygen. Same way here, it is ethanol and water vapor. It is going to be exerting, it is going to exert some pressure, right? Okay, see here, here there is one very important law that is called the Raoult's law, okay, which is proposed by Francois Raoult in 1888, okay, almost in the 19th century ending. See, according to Francois, according to this particular law, suppose I have told you here the pressure is equal to pressure exerted by water plus pressure exerted by ethanol. Okay, so here the pressure exerted by water, it is going to be equal to mole fraction of water into the partial pressure of or the partial pressure of the pure water. Okay, pure we are representing with this dot sign. Okay, so see, this is nothing but suppose I have taken only water. Okay, no other components, nothing, no impurities. Okay, only water. How much pressure this water alone is exerting? Water alone is exerting, that is called partial pressure of I'm sorry, not partial pressure, vapor pressure of pure water. Okay, so this is going to be the mole fraction of water in this whole of the system. And the pressure exerted by the ethanol, it is going to be equal to mole fraction of ethanol into pressure of pure ethanol. Okay, so this is the case. So we can rewrite this total pressure, it is equal to mole fraction of water plus into pressure of pure water plus vapor pressure of pure water plus partial pressure of ethanol into pressure vapor pressure of pure ethanol. Okay, so you already know that the if there is mole fraction we are using, the sum of mole fraction, it is going to be 1, right? Okay, so here if I am saying this mole fraction of ethanol plus mole fraction of water, it is going to be 1, because always the sum of mole fraction will be 1. So instead of ethanol, mole fraction of ethanol, okay, if I am using it is going to be 1 minus mole fraction of water. Okay, so I can also write this equation in this way, P is equal to mole fraction of water plus into partial pressure of, okay, I will write I'll write here pressure of pure water plus mole fraction of instead of mole fraction of ethanol, okay, I am going to put 1 minus mole fraction of water into partial pressure of ethanol. Okay, and if I multiply this one here, and again I can, for some convenience, I can write, okay, mole fraction of water into pressure of pure of the water plus this one I am multiplying here minus mole fraction of water into pressure of vapor pressure of pure ethanol. Okay, so of course, you know, depends on the convenience, you can write in any way. So, you know, instead of, you know, ethanol and water, okay, I am putting it as the component A and component B. Then if that is the case, you know, you can write this particular equation as let it be component A and component B. Okay, so, you know, the total pressure we can write it as mole fraction of A into vapor pressure of pure of A plus mole fraction of B into vapor pressure of pure of B. Okay, so this is what the Raoult's law is saying. According to Raoult's law, you know, suppose, you know, if there is, let it be how many components? Let it be component A. Okay, for this example, I am taking component B. Of course, both will be evaporating. Okay, A also, B also, you can see in the vapor state. Okay, both will be evaporating. Okay, so according to Raoult's law, you know, the partial vapor pressure, the vapor pressure of a system, okay, in which, you know, two liquids are there. A partial pressure of a solution containing two liquids, okay, both are liquids, is going to be equal to the sum of partial pressure of component A and sum of partial pressure of component B. That means, you know, this is the, okay, this mole fraction of A into partial pressure of A is the pressure of component A, mole fraction of B into partial pressure of B in the pure state, I mean vapor pressure of B in the pure state, that is going to be the partial pressure of component B. Okay, so, you know, according to Raoult's law, you know, the vapor pressure above the system is going to be equal to, provided, you know, both the components are liquids. Okay, vapor pressure of a system in which, you know, both the components are liquid, okay, is going to be equal to the sum of partial pressure of component A and partial pressure of component B. Okay, suppose if there is one more component, it is going to be total pressure is equal to partial pressure of A plus partial pressure of B plus partial pressure of C. Okay, this is going to be the total pressure. Okay, so this is a very you know, like a very pretty simple thing. Okay, suppose, you know, if I represent it in a graphical point of view, so that is, again, suppose, you know, if I am drawing a graph, think in this way. Okay, let it be here, you know, the mole fraction, yeah, I am taking, okay, mole fraction of 2, and then, you know, vapor pressure will be in the y-axis. Okay, suppose here, you know, the vapor pressure mole fraction, let it be component A, component 1 and component 2. Okay, two components are there, 1 and 2. Okay, so, you know, here the mole fraction of component A is equal to 1. That means, you know, you should know that, you know, sum of mole fractions, it is always going to be 1. If mole fraction of 1 is mole fraction of first component is 1, means, you know, this is going to be 0, right? Mole fraction of 2 is 0. In that case, you know, the vapor pressure is completely because of this only one component, first component. Okay, so that in that case, you know, the partial pressure is going to be equal to the pure component alone. Okay, and from here to here, okay, from left to right, you know, the mole fraction of second component, it is increasing, this the first component, it will decreases. So let it be when it is reaching here, okay, S2 it is going to be 1, X1 it is chi1, it is going to be 0. Okay, so, you know, the vapor pressure, let it be, okay, it is going to the, okay, obviously the partial pressure of second component, it will increases from left to right, right? Okay, so, you know, like this is P2, and here, okay, here it is the partial pressure of first component, it will be very high. When it is reaching here, okay, it will be decreasing. This is going to be the P1. Okay, so, you know, the total pressure, total vapor pressure is going to be, let it be, so P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Somewhere like this, you know, this graph it will come. Okay, So nothing much to know. Actually, you please have to know that, okay, the vapor pressure, it is above the liquid, it is going to be equal to the sum of the pressure of individual components. That is all about this. Okay, and then now one more variant. Here we said about the solution in which both the components are liquid. That means, liquid type of solutions, right? Okay, here, ethanol is also liquid, water is also liquid. Okay, now we will see about the vapor pressure of solid in liquid case. Okay, see, that is pretty simple, see, what is the vapor pressure of a solid? Because you take some amount of sugar. Okay, C12H22 oil. What is the vapor pressure of sugar? Is it, first the question is it the sugar is going to evaporize? No. So that means the vapor pressure of solids, most of the solids, it is zero, except some solids like iodine, sometimes, ice is a solid, but in the room temperature it will evaporizes. So it has some amount of vapor pressure at least. But most of the solids, what we are seeing here, again sodium chloride, okay, or camphor, okay, or like these type of, or CuCl2. These type of solids until it won't evaporate, so the vapor pressure of the solids is absolutely, it is going to be zero, or like we can say that it is negligible. Okay, so in a solution, consider the solution. So here water, and I put some amount of let it be sugar itself or glucose, C612O6. Okay, so glucose also I poured into that. Now the evaporation only happens only on the surface. It is a surface phenomenon, right? The vapor here, the water vapor, from this bottom until it won't evaporates. So only from the surface only it will evaporate, right? So I will represent this surface just below here. So this surface, okay, okay, I can represent here itself. Okay, so these are some of the water droplets. Okay, but you should also know that this, as of now, it contains two components, right? One is glucose. So obviously this glucose, some molecules of glucose, it will be there on the top, right? So this is okay, this one is water vapor. So we know that this glucose or also sugar, which is a solid, it is not going to evaporate. Obviously, the area in which it is exposing. That means there is only the here the area in which it is exposed to outside. It is as of now it is occupied by water as well as glucose, right? But if you consider a pure case of pure water, okay. So let's see how will be the case. In that case, there is no glucose. Okay, only water molecules are there, right? So it can easily evaporate, it can easily get out of the water, right? But here there is some glucose also, there is some water also, obviously from this place, more amount of water will be going out. Water it will be evaporating out. Obviously, the more amount of water will be forming, more will be the vapor pressure here. But the area exposed to outside, it got decreases, right? Obviously, of course, the water it will evaporate. But compared with this case, here the pure water. Compared with this case, here the water amount it is evaporating will be comparatively less. Okay, so the vapor pressure over here, it is, I am taking it as H2O. Okay, let it be first case, and here it is second case. So vapor pressure in, okay, pressure in the first case, it is less than pressure in the second case. Okay, so this is the case of evaporation happens in the vapor pressure condition happens in the solids in liquid case. Okay, and here you know the vapor pressure, it is only influenced by just a moment. Okay, here the vapor pressure, it is only influenced by you know the partial pressure you know it is only influenced by water, right? Because that is the only thing it will evaporates. So you know the total pressure is equal to pressure of partial pressure of water into mole fraction of water. This is going to be the total, right? Okay, so this is the case. You know, we don't count the vapor pressure of glucose. We just have to neglect it. Only thing is, you know, when we are calculating the total pressure, we will take the partial pressure of water and mole fraction of water, right? Okay, so that is it about you know, like a partial vapor pressure of vapor pressure of a solid in liquid case. Okay, provided the solid is a solute. Okay, and then about you know ideal and non-ideal solutions. So see, before let me ask about ideal and non-ideal conditions. Okay, let me ask a question. Is there anything is ideal in life? Like, is there any person is ideal? I mean, somebody who is perfect, no error, no abnormalities. Okay, is there any system or is there any particle or any matter which is ideal? No. So same way, you know, these solutions are also, or like this Raoult's law, that is also not going to follow some ideal conditions. Okay, of course it follows some violations. Say ideal conditions up to you know like I can say it is ideal condition is okay. Before that, you know, if I ask you one question, see sometimes you know the science or the chemistry particularly, okay, it gives us a lot of wonders beyond our imagination, sometimes you know beyond our common sense. See, suppose you know here if I ask you a question, suppose you know here water, it is 200 ml is there, okay, and I poured 100 ml again. Okay, so you know it got filled. How much will be the total? So obviously 200 plus 100, that is 300 ml, right? 300 will be the total. Obvious, it doesn't need any, I mean like extra calculations or anything. Okay, but let's see some amount of water. Okay, let's repeat 200 ml, and you know I am pouring it as let it be 300 ml of acetone, CH3, C double bond CH3. Okay, so my question is, how much will be the total ml? Here 200 ml of water is there, 300 ml of acetone I poured into. How much will be the total? We will have the tendency to say that 300 plus 200, it is going to be 500 ml. But it is not like that, because you know both are different liquids. Okay, so the interaction, molecular level interaction will sometimes you know it will reduce us the bond. I mean like a physical bonds will reduce us. In that case, you know the volume will decrease. You know, instead of 500 it will be 495 or 490 ml. That will be the case. Sometimes you know the molecular interaction will enlarge us. In that case, you know it will be more than 500. Okay, so the you know the we can say that you know that is enthalpy of volume change, right? Okay, so that is in this case, you know, enthalpy of volume change, I mean the delta V, that means the volume change, that is not going to be equal to 0. That means you know 300 if you add 200 plus 200 plus 100, that is going to be 300 ml only. Okay, so that means you know there is no change. But here you know volume change, I mean like the volume change when we are adding, it is not going to be not going to be 0, it will be different from 0. That means you know like instead of 500 ml, okay, we will get maybe 490 or 495 ml, or sometimes higher, sometimes 510 ml. Either possibility will be there. Okay, instead of acetone, if you add some other solvent different from water, that is also going to deviate in this way. In that case, the delta V is not going to be 0. That means, some volume change, some volume discrepancy will be there. Same way, I want to ask you one more thing. I have added 5 ml water is there. I added again 5 ml water. Okay. And you are holding this test tube. Okay. Altogether now 10 ml is there. Is there any temperature change can you observe? No, because same water only we are adding. There will be no temperature change. But on the other hand, water 5 ml and you added 10 ml of H2SO4. Okay, so now it is almost of course not exactly 15 ml, and if you touch the test tube, what you can observe? Definitely the test tube will be warm, it will be hot. Okay, what you can understand from that is, okay, so here same type of liquid I am adding, or like a similar type of liquid I am adding. So there will be no extra bond or extra bond will be breaking. Bond will be no bond will be forming, no bond will be breaking. So on the other hand, when H2SO4 is adding, okay, here some amount of heat will be releasing. Usually when the heat will be releasing is, if some bond is breaking, okay, or like some bond is forming, in either way, the heat can release or absorb. Okay, that means, here some it is not going to be this solution, it is not ideal solution. Okay, because here the delta H, it is negative. Okay, that means some amount of heat it is releasing out. But in an ideal solution, no heat will be releasing, no heat will be absorbing also. Delta H will be 0. Okay, I'm sorry, it is equal to 0. There will be no heat will be absorbing, no heat will be releasing also. Okay, so this is the case, and that means in an ideal solution, delta H is going to be 0, delta V, that is also going to be 0. Okay, that means the enthalpy of enthalpy of mixing and volume change, both are going to be equal to 0. Okay, this is the case of ideal solution. Let's see the case of non-ideal solutions. That is what I told you, this is a non-ideal solution, right? Because here heat is releasing, that means enthalpy change is it is negative. Sometimes in some cases heat will absorb. In that cases the enthalpy change is positive. Okay, so both cases the how to say, I mean like it is deviating from ideality, it is going to be non-ideal solution. So let's take the case of a non-ideal solution. Here the delta H value, it is not going to be equal to 0. That means either heat will absorb or releases, and the delta V value, that is also not going to be equal to 0. That means sometimes the volume is increases or sometimes the volume it will decreases. Okay, so two ways the deviation can happen: positive deviation and a negative deviation, as obvious, right? Let's see what is positive deviation. See, in the case of positive deviation, for instance, okay, as an example, let's see. Okay, see, consider this is one solution, let it be A, and this is again another solution, let it be B. Okay, so in A there is only A, right? Okay, so there will be only one interaction, A interaction will be here. Here only B, right? So B interaction will be there. In the next case, I am mixing these two and forming a resultant solution. Here both components are there, A also is there, B also is there, right? So here what type of interaction it will form? Of course there will be some AA as well as BB interaction will be there, but along with that there will be A and B also will be forming an interaction, that is called the AB interaction, right? If this AB interaction is weak, that means then what will happen? This if AB interaction is weak, then it is easy to break this bond. Like that both the A and both the B component, it will go into vapor state and it will easily evaporates. Okay, so let me ask you one more thing. When the things are when a liquid is evaporating, so here the in a liquid state, suppose if it is A, it is having some interaction with its respective molecules, right? So but in the vapor state, if you take, there will be no interaction with these respective molecules, respective atoms or molecules. Okay, so this bond, it has to break. The interaction between A has to break, or in this particular case, the interaction between A B has to break. Okay, if when the interaction between A and A is breaking, it will go into vapor state. In the vapor state, it is these constituent molecules, it is very distant. Okay, so there is no force of attraction will operate between that. Okay, so if the interaction between A, it is very strong, that means it requires more energy to evaporate. That means obviously more temperature will be required. Obviously the A in the vapor state, it will be less. Okay, if the interaction between A and A is very weak, then little amount of energy is enough to break this bond. It will easily evaporate. Then obviously more amount of A will be there in the vapor state. Okay, so okay, let me come back here. Okay, here A is there, here B is there. Okay, and then I poured A and I poured B. Okay, and formed on solution. That means in this case, the solution, this is solution with the component A and B. Okay, in the solution, two components are there, A and B are there. There will be A interaction between A and A is there, B and B is there, AB interaction is also there. Suppose if this AB interaction is a strong interaction, then the A and B in the vapor state, it will decreases, because it won't evaporate that much, right? The vapor, it won't go that much, the less amount of vapor only will be there, right? So this is going to be an example of positive deviation. That means strong intermolecular forces and less vapor pressure. Opposite is the case of negative deviation. Okay, let's see one example of positive deviation. See, for instance, okay, let's take the case of acetone and okay, let it be component A, it is acetone, and next one is ethanol, C2H5OH. Okay, suppose if it is this component A, it is ethanol. In that case, it is C2H5OH, then C2H5OH. Okay, so here this partial positive charge of hydrogen, it will interact with the partial negative charge of oxygen. Okay, so it will develop a type of hydrogen bond. Okay, this hydrogen bond, it is stronger. Okay, hydrogen in the intermolecular forces, comparatively, when we compare London forces or the other dispersive forces, hydrogen bond is comparatively it is stronger. Okay, but between this acetone, okay, this is ethanol. Okay, what force of interaction is operating here? Of course, here there is partial positive charge, partial negative charge over here, but it do not operate much of hydrogen bonding. You know, the interaction between acetone molecule is, this is A stand for acetone, okay, for the time being. It is not as strong as, this is weak compared with the interaction between ethanol interaction, okay. So if I represent it, you know, like ethanol interaction, it is stronger than acetone interaction, okay. So what will happen now? When we are mixing both, that means, you know, suppose this solution containing ethanol and acetone, what will happen? Here, you know, only ethanol interaction, here only the acetone interaction, right? Here, you know, if you are mixing ethanol and acetone interaction, you know, it is very weak. So obviously, you know, both will be easily breaking and it will undergo evaporation. So, you know, both the ethanol and both the acetone, it will comes in the vapor state very easily, okay. So here, you know, it will create some type of positive interaction, because, you know, the more vapor pressure will be there, okay. I mean, the vapor pressure, it is increasing in this particular example, okay. So that is an example of positive deviation. On the other hand, you know, the negative deviation is quite a similar time. You know, the vapor pressure, it is supposed to decreases, okay. That means, you know, suppose if I am mixing two solutions, this is in the case of negative deviation, okay, I am writing vapor pressure will be less. So it is A and it is B. Let it be A and B. When both are mixing, okay, so of course, you know, it will form AB interaction. This AB interaction, you know, it is here, right? Only AA interaction is there. Here only BB interaction is there. But in this case, you know, A and B interaction, that is going to be strong interaction. What will happen if the interaction is strong? It is not possible to break this bond Obviously, both A you cannot see in the vapor state, B also you cannot see in the vapor state, right? So, you know, of course it will evaporize. A will come to the vapor state, B also will come to the vapor state. But what will happen? The amount of A and B, it will be decreases, because, you know, this is bond, it is stronger, so not so easy to break it apart, right? Okay. So these type of cases, you know, it gives to negative deviation, because, you know, the vapor pressure, when we are mixing both components, it will become less, okay. As an example, I can tell you one pretty good example, that is chloroform and acetone, okay. So CH3, in the case of chloroform, just a moment. Okay, so this is acetone, right? So CH, so that means, you know, CHCl3, okay. So, you know, of course, you know, here it is having partial positive charge, here it is partial negative charge, okay. So there will be some interaction there. This interaction, it is going to be stronger than the interaction between acetone and than the interaction between chloroform, okay. C stand for chloroform for the time being, A stand for acetone, okay. So this this molecular interaction I am writing CA, okay. So that means the interaction, the force of interaction developed between chloroform and acetone is stronger than the interaction between acetone or interaction between chloroform, okay. Obviously, you know, it requires more energy, right, to break this bond, okay. Break this hydrogen bond, you know, obviously the vapor pressure, it will be high. That means, you know, you cannot see much of this acetone or chloroform in the vapor state, okay. So you won't see much of chloroform or acetone in the vapor state, because, you know, the interaction between both components, you know, it is stronger, okay. So these type of examples, it gives to negative deviation. Negative deviation stand for, you know, the vapor pressure, it will be decreasing when we are mixing both components. That means, you know, the molecular interaction between both components, it will become stronger, okay. And now you please take one more example that, see, and you know, science, you know, as I told you, it gives a lot of exceptions and a lot of information which is not comprehensible by our brain sometimes. Okay, so here, you know, if I ask you one question, so this is ethanol plus water. Okay, so here let it be the ethanol is 95%, water it is 5%. Okay, so we know that ethanol it is easily evaporizable compared to water. If you heat it near to 100 and you know the ethanol it is going to evaporate easily, right? Okay, so think that, you know, you are heating 100 degrees Celsius or like, okay, 70 degrees Celsius. What will be your observation? You may think that, okay, ethanol it will evaporate out, water will be there, 5% of water will be there. That is going to be your interpretation, right? But you know, once this particular composition is reached, okay, if you are heating about 200 also, 300 also, if you are heating less also, always in the vapor, okay, so the vapor state, it will contain 95% of water plus 5% of ethanol. You know, you cannot separate this. Once this particular composition is reached, you know, you cannot separate it by fractional distillation, because these type of mixtures we are calling azeotropic. Azeo means, you know, it is same boiling. Okay, azeotropic. Azeotropic means the same boiling. Azeotropic mixtures. Okay, so here also, you know, there is high boiling azeotropic mixtures as well as one second. Okay, minimum boiling azeotrope as well as maximum boiling azeotrope. Okay, so minimum boiling means you know, it shows positive deviation from Raoult's law. That means, you know, when we are mixing both components, the evaporation rate will be high. That means, you know, if you heat a little temperature, if you give a little temperature itself, it will evaporate. Okay, as an example, this particular one, this is going to be a minimum boiling azeotrope. Okay, because, you know, compared with the water and ethanol, which one is having higher boiling means higher vapor pressure? Ethanol is having higher vapor pressure, it easily evaporates out. Okay, so that is an example of minimum boiling azeotrope, which shows positive deviation. And again, maximum boiling azeotrope, that shows negative deviation. Negative deviation, you know, it requires more temperature. Maximum boiling azeotrope means, you know, negative deviation from Raoult's law. That means, you know, when both the components are mixing, when A and B are mixing, you know, this bond is strong bond, right? So it requires more energy to break it apart. Okay, obviously, you know, like it requires more temperature. Okay, so it will comes under maximum boiling point azeotrope, maximum boiling azeotrope, which shows a negative deviation from Raoult's law. Okay, as an example, you know, like it is one good example is nitric acid solution, 68% nitric acid, and the remaining percentage it is 32% water. Okay, so you know, this particular one, it shows a negative deviation from Raoult's law, as well as, you know, it is going to be maximum boiling point azeotrope, maximum boiling azeotrope, so it requires more temperature. Okay, once this particular composition is reached, you know, how much ever you heat it also, even in the vapor state. Okay, suppose, you know, this is 68% HNO3 plus 32% water. You know, if you heat it also, what will happen in the vapor state? No, always the vapor will be composition of vapor also, it is going to be 68% plus 68% HNO3 plus 32% of water. No, you cannot separate both the components by fractional distillation type of techniques. Okay, so these mixtures, it is called azeotropes. Okay, please remember it. So now we will go into next segment, we will go into colligative properties. Thank you for the time being.